I'm fussy about the fit of pants, as I am sure you are, because the right fit can make the difference between comfort and misery, and also between looking nice and looking like an idiot. So we want them to fit just right, and then have all the details just right as well. I wanted some pants with the inset slash pockets that you see here, but in order to design them, I first needed to start with the perfect fitting pants pattern. There are a number of commercially available fitting patterns that you can use, but I'm a fan of vintage patterns, the kind that come in a book and you enlarge them to your measurements. So that's what I use. This is from the Dot Pattern Deluxe book. You can see it's a very, very simple pattern, and because I was using knits and wanted pull-on pants, I just dispensed with the darts and added a knit waistband. The first pair is the one you see here. No details and one patch pocket added later. That's just to allow me a place to store my phone. It's definitely best to use a zero details pattern for perfecting the fit. So that's done, and on we go. Step 1 is to reproduce the pants front at the top. Don't go any lower than the crotch. And we actually need 3 copies of this. One will become the part of the pocket that we can see at the side of the pants. One will become the lining, and one will become the new pants front piece with the pocket cut out. Starting from those, we design the pocket. Next, we work on the depth and the width of the opening into which your hand will be inserted. These measurements come from pants you already like or pants you don't like and you are correcting for. I have decided on a 7-inch opening. It'll really be more like 6 3/4 because there's some seam allowance up here where I'll attach the waistband, and 2 inches in from the seam. So now I have a curved ruler up against it, and I just need to make this line, remembering that over here this is caught in the seam allowance and it should go straight out. Keep in mind that if this is the cutting line, the seam will come over here. I wanted this to be the stitching line, so the cutting line needs to have seam allowance added. On the pattern piece for the pants front, everything outside the pocket line and seam allowance can be cut away, marked with X's in this view. Here's the pocket getting developed. I've arranged that the drop is about 3 inches from where the pocket attaches to the side. This is a mock-up of my hand fitting into the pocket. So you can get an idea of proportion. Either of these lines is an acceptable top shape. I've decided on this one for this pair. And of course, all the way around, we'll need to add seam allowance. But we don't need to add anything here and here because it was traced from the pattern for the pants that already include seam allowance. So just when I say all the way around, here. Here you see me designing the pocket absolutely from scratch to fit my stature and my hand. Another way to do it is to get these measurements from a pair of pants pockets that you like and approximate them. Having drawn length and desired width and desired drop from the opening, we use a curved ruler to perfect the lines we've decided on and get the actual pocket piece cut out. This is the piece that when I put my hand in the pocket, my knuckles will touch the outside of this piece. I've redrawn the pocket lining to get rid of all the scribbling and make it neater. Now if I align it with the rest of the pattern, I can use the piece that was cut out of the pants top itself to cut out the pocket lining so they'll match perfectly. So this piece, in order to assemble the pants, pretend these are the real pieces of fabric. We laid along here, sewn along here, then turned and flipped inside the pants. The piece that is now coming into view is going to be seen here and hidden under here. It's actually a reproduction of the whole top piece on the front, but we're going to abbreviate it. It doesn't have a cutout, and it shouldn't, because this completes the pants front. And I've drawn what I'm going to do. The lining will align with this piece, as you see. This area contributes to the front of the pants. This area is the back of the pocket. And this functions in an apron-like way as a front lining. I have made it about 4.5 inches from the waistband to the bottom of it, and curved it here so that it just accepts the pocket and then narrows. This is a way to get the front of your pants to hang straighter and smoother, even if you're not perfectly straight and smooth. It only works in pants that are fairly loosely fitted. The styles that have negative ease, it does nothing for. But these pants are loose enough that it should help the line. So here's how the pants will go together. Of course, they will all be aligned perfectly, but you couldn't see what I'm describing if I did that for this piece of film. First, this piece will go atop this piece, get stitched along the stitching line, flip to the inside, and top stitched. That may involve elastic to reinforce it or interfacing to reinforce the edge, depending on what kind of fabric you're using. Then before finishing the front, this piece, the pocket lining, must be stitched to what I'll call the apron piece. So that is stitched right around here. I usually just serge this edge to keep it neat and not to add bulk. So now these are all stacked up and sewn together, and we have two options. We can treat this area like one unit and seam them as though they were one, or we can seam this to its corresponding piece on the other side of the front. I think it hangs a little bit more freely if we choose that option, so that's what I plan to do. Something often seen in pants patterns is that this area is extended about to here and is the main fabric, and it's sewn to a thinner lining like fabric for either this part or the whole thing. I'm not going to do that because this is the fabric I'm using. It's a cotton lycra knit, and it's light enough that I don't see any advantage in using a lining material. I'm just going to use this for all the layers. So let me get to work and I'll show you how they turn out. Pocket lining and pants front are laid right sides together, and we sew the line created by the bobby pin. I did reinforce that seam with some slightly stretchy lace, which I'll show you more of later. Now we turn it into position and top stitch the pocket edge. There's the lace right there. It's caught in the seam and extending out from the seam. I bought a big roll of this cheaply, and I find it functions very well where small bits of interfacing would be needed. Now we sew the area marked with pins on the pocket lining to the underlayer, apron layer of the front. The area where my yellow pencil is laying, I'll serge along that edge, and in fact around the whole bottom of the pocket. The area where the snips are laying will be sewn to the corresponding area on the other side of the front. Here the top stitching is complete, but where you see the two pins, I like to sew down an inch through all the layers to keep the pocket laying flat. These positions are at the top of the pocket, just below the waistband, and on the bottom of the pocket right next to the side seam. Here, both the center front crotch seam and the apron seams have been sewn, and it's time to sew the layers of the top edge together. From this point, we can finish it just like any other pair of pants. So front to back along the side seams, crotch to hem along the inseam, add the waistband, and voila. In this picture, the pants are just off of the machine. They have not been pressed, steamed, or washed at all.